Hello everyone and welcome back. So today we are going to be making a simple palazzo pant, and I say it's simple because anyone can make this, be it a beginner, an intermediate, just any level. So let's get started. And I have this African print fabric I'll be using to cut the front part, which is folded into two. So I'll start by measuring 1 inch away from the folded edge. I'm marking more than once in order to achieve a very straight line. From there, I'll go ahead to draw a vertical line on the marked points. This line will act as my reference line, and you need a very long ruler for this. Mine isn't long enough. After that, I'm going to measure another 1 inch away from the top edge. And I'll also draw another horizontal line on the marked point. This line will be the waistline for the front part. And with that, I'll start taking measurement. First, I'll take the waistline to the hip line measurement at 9 inches. This 1 inch I'm removing from the measurement is for the waistband. And now I'm taking the waistline to crotch line measurement at 11 inches. I explained how to get the crotch line in the beginning of this video. Then I'll square out lines across the marks. From the waistline again, I'll measure the full length of the trouser. Mine is 37 inches, and I'll add 1 inch for the folding around the round bottom part. So in total, I'll be having 38 inches. I'm now going to put in the vertical measurement from the line of reference. I'll measure 1/4 of my hip circumference on the crotch line, then carry forward the same measurement to the waistline. So now I'll connect those 2 points with a vertical line. I'll then measure 1/4 of my waist circumference on the waistline, plus 1 inch for the dart, so in total I'll have 8 inches. And from there, I'll be drawing a hip curve from the mark to the crotch line. You can use your hip curve ruler. Here I'm measuring the crotch extension, which is achieved by dividing the hip circumference by 20. And that's only for the front part. I got 2.1 inches. Then I'll divide it again by 2 in order to draw the curve. And remember, I'm measuring from where the vertical line meets the crotch line. I'll then use a curve ruler to draw in that manner. And I would have gone ahead to draw the thigh and the knee line at this point if it were a fitting female pant, but because it's a palazzo, there is no point of doing that. I'll just take the total measurement I have here, which is 12.5 inches, then carry it forward to the round bottom part or the full length line. And from there, I'll draw a vertical line from the point I just marked on the full length line to the end of the crotch line extension. Before I can add any allowances, I'll first draw the darts, whereby I'll measure my bust span, which is 3.5 inches. Then also add 0.5 inches on each side like we always do. And for the dart depth, I used 4 inches. I want to now shape the front waistline a bit, and I'm measuring 0.5 inches up from the waistline. And another 0.5 inches down from the waistline at this other point. So I'll connect this mark to the first leg of the dart with a straight line, then the second leg to the other mark. Moving forward, I'll now add 0.5 inches stitching allowance around the center front. Same will apply to the side, but since it's a very free pant, I'll not add the allowances to the full length. I'll smoothly connect it to the drawn line some few inches from the crotch line like that. I'll repeat the same around the center front and then cut out along the outline. We'll be using the front now to cut the back part. I've placed the front on another folded fabric for the back part. I'm making sure there is enough allowance for the back crotch extension and the waistline extension. So now I'm going to pin the front to the fabric for it not to move while I'm tracing out. Doing this just saves me time. After I'm done pinning, I'll trace out the front part as it is on the fabric. I'll also be marking the hip line and the crotch line on the fabric. I'm taking note of where the exact center front line is, that's why I'm measuring. I'll now continue with the tracing. For the waistline, remember I shaped the front part, I just want it straight on the fabric, that's why I'm going to draw a very straight line like that. What comes next is to remove the pins I used to secure the fabric before I can also draft the back part. And I'll now draw the hip line and the crotch line from the points I marked earlier. Then from the front center line, I measured 2.5 inches. I'm going to measure the same, then draw a line as it was on the front part. This is now where the back drafting starts. I'll measure 1 inch from the front center line down here, then measure 2 inches on the waistline. Let me just do this with a different chalk color. So I'll connect these new points with a line, and that's my center back now. The front crotch extension was 2.1 inches. I'll extend the waist area with the same measurement because the back has to be in that shape. And then from the orange line, which is my center back, I'll measure quarter of my waist circumference plus 1 inch for the dart. Total now is 8 inches. Again, measure quarter of my hip circumference on the hip line, mark it there. I'll then draw the hip curve from that mark on the waistline down to the crotch line. I now want to measure the crotch extension, which is achieved by the hip circumference divided by 10, not 20 this time. What I got is 4.2 inches, which I'm marking from the center back line. I'll use the same criteria when drawing the front curve here. Divide 4.2 by 2, then measure from that corner. That's the point I'll have the curve passing through. And I'll go ahead to draw the curve like I'm showing you guys. I'm done with the upper part. The only remaining activity is to add the stitching allowances, and this time I'm adding the allowances down to the full length line. I'm adding 0.75 inches on each side. And after that, we'll add 0.5 inches stitching allowance at the center back line. We'll do the same also on the hip side, then cut out. This is one of the back pieces. I'll use it to show how to find the dart line. I'll first fold it this way. The bottom edges should align. So I'm going to notch on the folded top and measure 4 inches dart depth. I already drew the dart on the upper front piece. I'm just going to notch and then stitch the darts. I'm done stitching the darts, guys, for both the back and the front pieces. I'll again head over to the sewing machine to stitch on the center front and the center backs. Here is it after stitching. This is for the front part. I'll now open it up and put the back part on top of it, right sides together to stitch. But I'll first measure 8 inches for the zipper on the left side. Then I'll stitch using that 0.75 inches stitching allowance I added earlier. I'll do that on both sides. I'm done stitching the sides, left this space for the zipper. So now I want to fix the waistband first. And this is the waistband. I've ironed the fabric gum on it. It measures the same length as my waist circumference plus 2 inches. And with 0.5 inches, I'll stitch one side of the band on the waistline all round. And then flip it like this and make a top stitch on the waistband, so that by the time I'm done, I'll have a very neat finish. After that, I'm just going to stitch the zipper on the space left as well. Here is it after fixing the waistband. Everything looks neat. I've also stitched the zipper on this space. What I'm left with at this point is to stitch the center sides, and I'll do that by spreading the seams at this area. Make sure they aligned really well, and then stitch with 0.75 inches again. I'll now finalize by double hemming the round bottom part with 1 inch. And this is the end result, guys. Please subscribe, like and share this video.